One of the hardest things from a deck building perspective is when there's a card that on paper seems pretty good, but when you actually put it into practice, it ends up hurting you more than helping you. And a lot of the times these cards don't look terrible, they just look like normal cards, and in many cases they actually do synergize with the deck you're playing them in. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 cards that I think people really want to play in FAs, but that are actually quite suboptimal. Now, I do want to mention that my FA deck is not perfect by any means. I do think that the version I posted on Team Samurai's channel is quite good and is pretty much the pinnacle of what you should be striving to do. I think if your deck isn't as consistent or as explosive as that one, you're in a rough spot. But I think it's probably possible to improve the deck. However, I don't think any of the cards in this video are how to do it. I think that these cards are ones that I sort of looked at and discarded for better cards, although I do think there are probably even better cards than what I'm currently playing out there. I just haven't discovered them yet. But anyway, let's talk about 4 or 5 cards that I've sort of looked at, sort of analyzed, play tested, done some test hands with, and then decided I didn't want to play in FAs. And I do want to say that even though I've done sort of 2 deck profiles now, I get that there's still people that really don't know how to build the deck. There are a lot of different effects going on, and a lot of people still think it's a stun deck. I think that they only read like the first set of FA monsters, and I know that one's like a Dark Claw, so they're like, okay, maybe I'll play Ties of Brethren. And I'm not going to talk about why Ties of Brethren is bad, but it's pretty much, I think it's pretty clear. FAs are supposed to be a combo deck. Ties of Brethren isn't a combo card. It's actually an anti-combo card, so we're not going to be playing that. Although there's one other card in this video that we're going to talk about that's kind of along the same lines as Ties of Brethren. So if you do have questions about Ties of Brethren, hopefully your questions will be answered. But anyway, let's talk about the first card, Ancient Gear Catapult. So this one is the hardest one to talk about because I believe that it almost is playable. It's basically a replacement for Zodiac Barrage, and every single conversation I've seen about it, it is comparing it directly to Barrage, and that makes sense. They're both spell cards, they both pop a card on your field, hopefully a field spell, and they both special summon a guy from the deck. In both cases, you're getting a level 4 monster. What's the problem with Ancient Gear Catapult? Well, it's the first 5 words of the text, while you control no monsters. The problem with Ancient Gear Catapult, well, one of the problems with it, is that you have to have an open board to do it, which is neat, I guess. In most cases it doesn't really super hinder you. However, in the most important case, the single most important case where you want to be using Barrage, this card doesn't work. So the best time to use Barrage is when you open Cock-a-doodle-doo, a field spell, and Barrage, because that way you can do a crazy combo. Ancient Gear Catapult will be fine in most scenarios compared to Barrage, but in that very specific scenario that I feel is one of the best opening potentials of FAs, this card just doesn't work. You have to control no monsters, and you can't, so then you're stuck, because Cock-a-doodle-doo also requires you to control no monsters, so which one do you use? And I think in a lot of cases this card will brick you. Now, I do want to say that it is kind of cool this card has added value in the graveyard, although I don't think that's completely worth it, because one of the things that I love about Zodiac Barrage is that if it stays on the field, you can just keep using it. It's pretty crazy. So like, let's say your opponent ashes it on the first turn, and they ash it on the second turn, and they ash it on the third turn. Well, on the 4th turn, if it's still in the field, you can just use it again. And that's pretty cool. And while Ancient Gear Catapult does have that second use, it doesn't have the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th use. And while you might not use Barrage that many times in every single game you play, I like having the potential. But mostly, the problem with the Ancient Gear Catapult is simply that you have to have an open board, and that's just not going to be good enough when there's a card like Barrage out there that does the exact same thing, but doesn't require you to not have any monsters. The next card that I want to talk about is one that I might have accidentally been responsible for. That is Marshalling Field. I talked about this when the FA monsters were first released, because I hadn't really played the deck yet, and I too thought it would be sort of like a stun deck. What's the issue with Marshalling Field? Well, the issue with Marshalling Field is that it's a trap card. I know it's kind of an oversimplification, and not every trap card is going to be bad in FAs. FAs are a really, really combo-centric deck. You want every card in your hand to be getting you to a combo or being a combo piece itself, and Marshalling Field is not that. Also, this does restrict you from special summoning non-machine type monsters. That matters because it means you can't summon not only Cypher Lord Omega, but also Ancient Fairy Dragon, which are by far two of the most important cards in the extra deck for FAs. But when you have this on the field, you can't actually summon them. You can still summon the Synchro Monster for FAs, and that's fine, but you can't summon your big combo enablers or your main piece of recycling. The other problem with this card, and probably my biggest gripe with it, is that the level increase doesn't actually matter. So hear me out. This card requires you to have a level 5 or higher FA monster. Well, not technically an FA monster, but you get what I'm saying. It requires you to have level 5 or higher monster, which means you've already activated some sort of level modulation card. It would either have to be a field spell or test run or down force. It can't be pit stop, obviously, because then they'd be down a level. But anyway, so you have to have a level 5 or higher monster, and in that case, you probably already have a level 7 monster. It's very rare when I actually find myself with a level 5 FA monster and not a level 7 one, because pretty much anytime you get it to level 5, you can get it to level 7. All you have to do is normal summon an FA monster and then activate a field spell. It's really not that hard to get it to level 7, and the big issue is that there's really no difference between a level 7 FA monster and a level 9 FA monster. And I think that the surface level thinking is, well, Doug, you're wrong. There's a 600 attack difference. And that's true, but what if I told you that 600 attack doesn't matter and that the consistency of your deck is actually much more important? That's basically the stance that I'm taking with Marshalling Field, because it's true. The 600 attack does not matter. You already have the bonus effect when the monster is level 5. Now, maybe there are some really fringe applications for this card. The biggest one that I can think of is that if you have City Grand Prix on the field, it only increases the monsters by 2 levels during the main phase and the battle phase. So if you activate this card, they're always increased. That's kind of fine. It's just not good enough. You can also like use this, make them level 9, and then activate a new field spell and they'll go to level 11 and then level 13. Once again, though, that's just so fringe. It's not going to happen turn 1, and what you really want to do with FAs is establish a strong board on the first turn, not on the second and third turn. That if you never get a hold of the duel on the first turn, well, then you're not going to get to the second and third turn into a position where you can actually activate this card and that it'll be useful. Now, the next card I want to talk about is Machine Duplication. I don't think anyone's like really seriously playing this card like before the ban list came out, because obviously it's not that great to summon 3 auto navigators. Their effects don't trigger, like you guys know that, right? They're hard ones per turn effects. So if you summon 3 auto navigators, you're only getting the one that you normal summoned for the search effect. The other 2 just are blank monsters. They're all tuner monsters, so you can't synchro with them. It takes your normal summon. That's kind of an issue. I mean, maybe there's like this play where you go, it's not even that good though, because if you had like a level 4 monster auto navigator, a field spell, Machine Duplication, once again, you're literally just summoning 2 auto navigators for nothing. Like, they don't do anything, because you can, just with the basic 3 card combo, you can pretty much summon any monster you want, either rank 4, rank 5, level 8 synchro, level 9 synchro, level 10 synchro, anything you want you can make. Why do you need 2 auto navigators? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe if there wasn't like link summoning out, then you could argue that, oh, it gives you like a free totem bird, and that's kind of cool. But link summoning is out, so you can't do that anymore. So that card's pretty bad. And I think the reason that it's in more discussion after the Forbidden Limited list is because I've seen a lot of god-awful builds using Card Trooper to justify the use of Machine Duplication. That makes literally no sense. The only synergy there is that it's a machine monster. Card Trooper really wants to be played. I don't even think that the Machine Dupe Card Trooper combo is that great anymore. It's not 10 years ago, which is when Card Trooper got it first got limited. But it's not Troop Dupe Scoop format anymore. I don't think that card and that combo is that good, but especially it's not good in a deck like FAs. You want Card Trooper when you're milling 9 cards off of 3 of them to get a ton of immediate value with cards like Fairy Tale Snow or the Wolf Light Sworn or any of those cards. FAs don't have any cards that you can immediately gain value from. Sure, you can put FA Auto Navigate in your graveyard, except you just use your normal summon on Card Troopers, so you don't have something to special summon the Auto Navigator with. So that seems pretty silly. And yeah, you can put the quick play spells in the graveyard, but you have to wait a turn to use them, so that's not even that good. In most cases, you'll just be summoning 3 Card Troopers, milling 9 cards, doing nothing, and then passing for your opponent to kill you. It's just not a good combo, and really, you don't want to be playing so many normal summons in the deck. In the builds that I was playing, I only had 6 normal summons in the entire deck. I mean, I guess you can count Auto Navigators, that's 9 normal summons, but I don't know why everyone wants to play like Card Troopers, and the next card that we're going to talk about, Armageddon Knight. Just cut down the normal summons on your deck, that'll make your deck better. But anyway, Armageddon Knight. Okay, so I hyped this card up when I was doing test hands, and that's because Armageddon Knight and by association Destrudo are two cards that are really, really, really good in a vacuum. What I mean by that is that when you're sitting at your computer desk or on your bed doing test hands over and over again, Armageddon Knight seems awesome. It's a one card Ancient Fairy Dragon, and you can do a ton of crazy combos with Ancient Fairy Dragon, so naturally Armageddon Knight's going to be good. There are two problems with that when you go to a real tournament. First of all, Armageddon Knight is going to get ashed every single time you use it, basically. And the biggest problem with that is that when they ash your Armageddon Knight, you're passing. Like, there's no way to special summon a level 3 monster that's a tuner when you already have used your normal summon. It's really hard. The only way besides Cockadoodle-Doo to put a level 3 monster on board that's a tuner monster without your normal summon is like E-Telly for Ghost Ogre, and no one's playing that because there's only one E-Telly in the game. So anytime you summon Armageddon Knight, it's just going to get ashed, and then you pass, and that's obviously not good enough. However, there can be some cases that I'm sure some of you will say, well, what if you have Cockadoodle-Doo and Armageddon Knight? Well, then the problem is that you didn't need to have Armageddon Knight because you already had the Cockadoodle-Doo, and any level 4 monster could be the placeholder for Armageddon Knight because they'll all make Ancient Fairy Dragon. Sending the Destrudo doesn't do anything if you already have access to the level 7 Synchro. And that brings me to Destrudo. This card will auto-loss every single Trickstar matchup for you. It's actually just ridiculous. Trickstars don't always burn you to death with FAs. In fact, the two Trickstars I lost to at the last regional were both just killing me with Eater of Millions, not really burning me to death. However, when you do 4,000 damage to yourself on the first turn, well, yeah, then it's going to be pretty easy for them to do that last 4,000 damage. Trickstars can very easily do about 5,000 to 6,000 damage. It's that last 2,000 gap that they have a really hard time closing. However, when you do half the work for them, well, then they're just going to kill you every time. And while Trickstars are definitely not the best deck for February 2018, they are one of the most popular decks. Therefore, main decking Destrudo is really silly because you're just going to take so many losses that you wouldn't have taken otherwise. Just don't play that card right now. Maybe someday you can play it. However, the problem is that I don't think you can ever play Armageddon Knight because it'll always get Ash. So if Ash gets hit someday, I guess you could play Armageddon Knight, but by that time we'll have the next wave of FA support, and the deck will probably be nothing like it is right now. Well, it'll probably be pretty similar, but hopefully better than it is right now. But yeah, you can't really play Destrudo because of Trickstars. You can't really play Armageddon Knight because of Ash. Maxi isn't a problem anymore, but Ash still hurts a lot. I think that covered every card I wanted to talk about. There are a lot of ways to build FAs, and I think that there are better ways to build it than I've built it already, but I don't know those yet. However, I do know that the cards in this video were not the cards to expand the strategy because of the reasons that I mentioned in this video. Anyway, though, I'll see you guys later. Bye.